Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. I'm Peter Loshak. It's Week 10 in college football. Today is Friday, November 4th, and this is the Into the Weekend with Bet DSI show that we do every Friday. We talk to Brent, the headlines manager at DSI Sportsbook. Great sportsbook, of course, that takes professional action and recreational action and everything in between. And Brent shares the betting action that he's taken over the week as of Friday afternoon, college football Week 10. Brent, thanks so much for being back with us. Last week, the Sharps actually in college, based on what you told us as of Friday, 4-6 against the spread. Now they are 50-38 against the spread on the year in our show, which is an awesome record. 4-6 last week. You think the Sharps are a little bit nervous right now?
No, I think it's about breaking some eggs to make an omelet,
yep.
Peter.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, let's see what we have.
That's the best way. I mean, to expect Sharp guys to win every single week is just not it's just not feasible. I mean, obviously, we've got a decent kind of basket of players that we're looking at. So even if some guy has a bad week, another guy might have a good week, and cancel himself off and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of a good way to go in terms of riding it, looking at it stock wise instead of just riding one stock up and down. While we're riding a mutual fund that keeps going on up.
Right. Okay. So let me ask you first off. I have to ask you about the Alabama LSU game. I'm assuming that with how well Alabama is playing this year and covering, that the public is all over Alabama here. That's not always the case, but whenever I see a generally public favored team that's also been covering, I have to assume they've been that they're going to be a huge public side for the entire year. Maybe that's not the case though. And sharp action, I don't know. I haven't seen any line movement that would indicate one thing or the other. What can you tell us about Alabama and LSU?
Yeah, you're bang on in terms of the line movement being reflective of the fact that we haven't had any heavy sharp action one way or another on this one, and also bang on in terms of the fact that people are all behind Alabama as the public typically does. We were at 7 on this one and took some a couple fair-sized bets and stuff like that, and also the public money on Alabama. So we got up to 7.5. We've had decent two-way action that's at 7.5, getting good money both ways. Right now we're sitting at 7.5 flat. They kind of play around with the juice sometimes. But in terms of my money, I mean, right now just because of more public money and a couple decent big shots, the Alabama money is about 2-1 in their favor, which it's not astronomical at all in terms of having 2-1 money favoring Alabama, not at all. Right now, like I said, they're a 7.5 point road favorite at LSU. When I factor in the parlays and teasers and all that kind of stuff, that wager count becomes like about 5-1, we'll call it right now. So I mean, it's definitely one-sided action in terms of the favoring Alabama. Sharp action though is not really involved in this game at all. We're sitting on a total of 45 as well, and generally speaking, we get more public money on the over, and that's typically the case here too. We got almost like 3 times as much money on the over here, but good two-way action for the total as well. I got no big decision on the total, no big decision on the side, and my wager count suggests as of right now that the public's going to keep behind Alabama, but no sharps are involved yet, Peter.
Really, that's interesting because I'll tell you this, Brent from Bet DSI, on the opening line on this total, I was all over the over at 47, and then we've seen what happened. Now it's down to 45. So when I saw that, I assumed that there must have been some big money, big sharp action coming in on the under somewhere. What would cause a 2-point line move on a low total to go down like that?
Yeah, just general a couple of hits and stuff like that. And as you know, I mean, when you open the number, you kind of you take one max bet, boom, you're generally moving like a point or a full point. Especially if it's a guy you respect, he may not be the biggest winner long term, or he might tread water or whatever. But again, I mean, this line also was all the way down to 44.5 where we started getting over money. So you just kind of play around with it. And I mean, the sooner you can find the number that's going to work to balance your action, the better off you are. It just kind of takes some time to get there sometimes.
All right, well, that's very good to hear that it wasn't sharp action that caused the line move to go down. That makes me feel a little bit better about my initial play on the over. Then another game that did see some very early significant movement was Nebraska and Ohio State. Opened, I saw like 12.5, 13. Some places that opened a little bit later opened 14. And by Monday morning, it was all the way up to 17. So a huge move in favor of Ohio State. Was that sharp action?
It's respectable action, we'll call it. I mean, definitely here at least, we didn't open that early, but we did get hit at minus 14, minus 115 on the juice actually with Ohio State. So it's not someone who, I'm going to call sharp, but someone, obviously respectable money who backed Ohio State there. The interesting thing here in terms of, from where I'm sitting right now, at least I consider it interesting, is that I've got almost 4 times as many more bets My actual wager count, number of bets I've taken on this game, 4 times as many on Nebraska.
Really?
My money's also almost like 2-1 favoring Nebraska. So I did take that the initial hit, as we mentioned, on Ohio State minus 14, minus 115 on the juice. But since this line went all the way up to 17.5 and it's come back down to 17. So I am actually getting more money on Nebraska, which is kind of maybe a bit of a surprise in terms of you just kind of assume the public's going to be jumping behind Ohio State, and come game time that may even out, it may not. I do want to touch on the total, Peter. We're sitting at 52.5 right now. That was a big move earlier that we had sharp action on the under here. So the under 54 in this game was sharp. So under 54, we dropped all the way down to 53. We took another hit there, went down to 52. We got a little bit of respectable money back on the over at 52, so we're sitting at 52.5 right now. But if there is a sharp play on this game, it's definitely the under 54, Peter.
All right. Well, we've seen betting profiles like this in the past where the public is all over a big underdog like this. And whenever that happens, you know what I'm thinking. I'm always thinking that the favorite is the right side, especially when we see the kind of movement that we've seen here. So now I'm thinking Ohio State might be a great bet, even at minus 17. And Brent tells us that sharp action came in at under 54. And then Louisville, BC is the next game I want to ask you about. Last week you told us that some early sharp action came in on Louisville. Obviously that action lost, and the public was all over Louisville. Line got driven way up, and that one lost. Now we have Louisville coming right back the next week, again as a big road favorite, about 25 or 25.5. I'm wondering if the public is once again all over Louisville, and if any sharp action has bitten either which way so far as of Friday. What can you tell us, Brent?
Yeah, Louisville, we've had some major line moves with them, all season long. We're talking like 7-8 point moves. And we kind of, as we talked about the last couple of weeks, the moves we've had to make on Louisville became, from 8 point moves down to like 4 point moves. And if you look at this week, the line basically opened like 25. It's as high as 26 is where we are right now, but yesterday it was 25.5. So it's really, the number seems to be right as of today at least. And we didn't get hammered by any sharps earlier in the week. We didn't get hammered by the public at all either. So Louisville is a 26-point road favorite right now at Boston College. My wager count is almost 2-1 favoring Louisville. So again, the public's behind Louisville, no surprise. I did get kind of respectable money back at on Boston College at plus 26. So my money's pretty much dead even on this one, even like slightly favoring Boston College, but nothing really big. So it's a game where I don't really have any sharp action involved. But the only thing noteworthy really is the fact that we got a number right in terms of Louisville spread. This is another one though in terms of the total though. I do want to touch on that again. The public's going to be betting Louisville over all season long, and this is no exception. My wager count is almost 4-1 on the over. But if you've been following this number at all, you notice that the line actually has gone down in the total. We're sitting at 55 right now, and what drove that down was sharp action on the under 57, Peter.
Yep, I took the under 57 as well on my accounts. All right, so we've identified 2 clear sharp sides so far this year with list action, Ohio State under and Louisville BC under. What else can you tell us about notable action from college football week 10, Brent?
First off, I'm going to try and go in order rotation number of people are following that one. I know, Peter, you always send me games just in a scrambled order. I never know which way we're going, up or down. But top game is Navy at Notre Dame. I did take sharp action on Navy plus 7. Navy's 5-2 on the road at Notre Dame. Notre Dame was a 7-point favorite. We're down to 6.5 right now. Generally speaking, you have no trouble getting support for Notre Dame in terms of the public, and we have that for sure. But we definitely have sharp action on Navy, and that came at plus 7. When I drop down to Florida State, NC State, I just want to talk about this one simply because we got so much action on this game, and it's basically all about a couple of sharp guys coming in on this game, but all at different numbers. The sharp money came on NC State at plus 7, and I've had sharp action on Florida State minus 5 and also minus 5.5. So I'm sitting at 5.5 right now. This is Florida State at NC State. I'm not going to tip one side or the other in terms of which one is the sharper of the sharks, but I just want to mention that because there's been a ton of volume, and you talk about sharps appreciating the number. NC State plus 7 was sharp.
Well, I'll tell you this.
5 and 5.5. Yeah.
I'll tell you this, if it lands on 6 for my record keeping here of how the Sharps have done, I will absolutely credit their record with 2 winners, 2-0 on that one if it lands on 6. How bad will that be for you?
We'll take it.
Will you take a big loss if that loses, if it lands on 6?
No, it won't be a big loss. And again, the move from the 7 was, we moved right away down to 6 and stuff like that, and then, even further down, committing anything back. So it wasn't until 5. I mean, it won't destroy us for sure, because between now, we're talking here on Friday, between now and game time on Saturday, we're just going to write so much more action at the numbers we have right now. So, I would say this is one of those games where if you take a look on Saturday and you see this number creep up from 5.5 all the way back up to 7, that there were some sharps that came in on Florida State, and that was the sharper side of the two. But as of right now, I would say neither side is the sharper of the two. +7 NC State and -5 and 5.5 on Florida State on the road.
Okay, awesome info, Brent. What else can you tell us?
Yeah. Another total for you. This is Rice. I got Rice at home to Florida Atlantic here. A couple of 1-7 teams, so you probably don't want to sit down and pop open some popcorn and crack some beer and watch this one. But I do have sharp action on the under of this game. Rice is a home favorite of 4.5 points to Florida Atlantic, but I did take sharp action on the under 59.5. Right now we're sitting at 57.5. Big favorite for you here is Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky, wow, they're at home to Florida International. Yeah, this one could get fugly, Peter. Sharp action came in. I got two different sharps on this one. They hit Western Kentucky -26.5 and also -27. This line is all the way up to 33, and it's just kind of around like 30. Around here is kind of where I started getting these nibbles back on Florida International. So, talking about almost like a 6-7.5 point move, which is quite a big move for us. But in terms of the sharp side, Western Kentucky was definitely it. Again, 26.5 and 27 is where they played it, so it's all about the number. We're going to go down to Old Dominion. Old Dominion is at home to Marshall. And my wager count here is almost 4-1 favoring Marshall, and my money's even bigger than that. Favoring Old Dominion. I've got two sharps involved in this game, both of them on Old Dominion. Old Dominion -8.5 initially, and then again -9.5. Right now we're sitting at 11.5. Now we've gone all the way up to 11.5. We were 10.5 yesterday. A full point move from yesterday to today as well. It's 11.5. Just trying to fish for some money back on Marshall. So it looks like no one wants to get behind Marshall, but I've got two sharps on Old Dominion. So it's kind of always when I've got a couple guys on the same side, it's quite telling that that's obviously the way to go. Again, this line could go up to 13. We finally get some nibbles back on Marshall the other way. Who knows? But as of right now, it's definitely one side of the action. Down to SMU. They're at home to Memphis. We're sitting at Memphis as a road favorite right now, -3. I took sharp action on SMU +3.5. And going down, we already touched on Ohio State and LSU. Got those ones covered. Two games that I kind of left for the end because I want to really make, pay attention to these two, because I've got probably, a couple of the best guys in the whole store on the same side, which is, kind of a scary situation sometimes. But first off is TCU at Baylor. If we did this a couple of days ago, we would have talked about Baylor being a 10-point favorite at home. If we did the show yesterday, they would have been like a 9-point favorite. And if you check your down best screen today, right now they're a 7-point favorite, Peter. So that's quite a big drop there. And I've got two different sharps on TCU. First one was +10, and the second guy +8. So TCU on the road at Baylor. TCU is clearly the sharp side in terms of the action that we've seen in here.
Well, Brent, can I cut in for 1 second?
Yeah.
I do an opening line show with my partner every Monday for college and NFL. One of my big plays in that one was TCU +9. What do you think about that one, Brent?
Well, Peter, I mean,
not bad, right?
And tell that you were a sharp guy.
Not bad, not too shabby. All right, Brent, just wanted to toot my own horn there a little bit. Let's see what else you have for us, Brent.
Yeah, this is good for us in terms of the way things have gone, in terms of the fact that I simply have probably almost like 2-1 my wager count on this game favoring Baylor. So I do have a lot more money on TCU because the big heavy hitters on TCU in terms of them being sharp and betting max wagers versus the public betting smaller bets on Baylor. But the fact that I've got a wager count almost 2-1 in favor of Baylor kind of gives me a little bit of solace in fact that I'm thinking we should be able to get some money back on Baylor. And again, though, it's all about the number, of course. +10 and plus the 8 on TCU were sharp. And the other game that I wanted to kind of just bring out into light on its own as well was Washington. Washington is on the road this week at Cal. And again, if we talked yesterday, it would have been -17. Right now we're looking at -19. And again, this is a game where I've got two of the sharper sharps on the same side, and they're on Washington.
Wow.
They laid the 17 and the 17.5 as well. My wager count here is almost 2-1 favoring Washington, so I'm getting public money behind them, but two real big hitters on Washington. So this one, I mean, it's not often that you get a couple of big guys all go in the same way, and this is one of those situations. I mean, we talked about Old Dominion. I got a guy at 8.5 and 9.5. I've got two of the strongest guys here on Washington minus 17 and 17.5, and TCU plus 10 and 8. So those are a couple real strong plays this week, Peter.
All right, that's awesome. My partner Mike Brenner also was on Washington early, and I also gave Old Dominion in our Monday show, except by then I had to give 11.5 minus 125 because the line had already moved a ton by the time we were shooting. But great news as far as the bets and the plays that we've given in our shows over the week. Brent, thanks so much. As always, talk to you next week for College Football Week 11.
Research before you bet. Be sure to check out SPR Picks for the best game predictions, breakdowns, and much, much more.